Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me now and believe me later. What we are witnessing is not just politics, not just technology. It is an earthquake shaking the whole world. On one side, we have the thunder, loud, explosive Donald Trump's outburst shaking headlines every single day. On the other side, we have the silence, the quiet force of Sundar Pichai, who builds, who creates, who transforms the way billions of people live. This is not about who shouts louder. This is about who shapes the future. And tonight, I am going to show you why real power does not come from noise. It comes from vision, discipline, and action. Stay with me, because by the end of this speech, you will feel the ground moving under your feet. A Trump shakes the ground with his words. You hear him on television, on social media, everywhere. Boom, boom. It's like thunder crashing across the sky. The man knows how to grab attention, that is true. He shouts, he provokes, he dominates the headlines. Every sentence is like a punch. But let me tell you something, my friends, noise does not build. Noise does not create. Noise does not endure. When the echo fades, on his left, only silence. And in that silence, we see who is really strong, because there is another kind of power, a quieter kind, a strength that doesn't need to scream. Sundar Pichai, when he speaks, he does not raise his voice. He does not pound his fists on the table. He does not chase the camera. Instead, he listens, he thinks, he calculates. And then, when he acts, the world changes. That is the difference. That is the shockwave we often miss because it does not roar. It rumbles deep beneath the surface. Think about it. The loudest person in the room often looks powerful in the moment. But true power, it's like an earthquake. You don't always see it coming. You don't always hear it. But when it hits, everything moves, everything shifts, and nothing is the same again. Pichai does not need to tell us he is powerful. The billions of people using his tools every single day, they prove it for him. Every search, every map, every video watched, every email sent, that is silent power at work. That is action, not noise. I know something about noise. I built a career in a world of noise, movies, cameras, action. Explosions. The audience cheers when it is loud, but when the lights go down and the applause fades, what matters is the work you put in. The discipline, the training, the hours when no one is watching. That's where real success is born, and that lesson applies here. Trump's outbursts are like fireworks, bright, explosive, unforgettable for a moment, but then they disappear into the night sky. Pichai's power, his silence, it is like building a city, brick by brick, piece by piece, until one day you look around and realize he has shaped the entire landscape. Do not mistake silence for weakness. Do not confuse shouting with strength. Many people do. But history shows us again and again, those who talk the loudest often burn out the fastest. Those who work in silence, they endure. They create legacies that last for generations. I want you to imagine two mountains. One mountain is loud, it crashes with avalanches, rocks tumble down, snow thunders in your ears. The other mountain just stands there silent, still. Which one is stronger? Which one lasts longer? The answer is clear. Noise comes and goes. True strength stands forever. When I look at Trump and I look at Pichai, I see this contrast in its purest form. Trump wants the spotlight. He feeds on it. Without it, he loses his energy. But Pichai, he does not need the spotlight. He does not chase the headlines. He focuses on building systems that serve billions of people. He lets his work speak. And his work is louder than any outburst. And this is the lesson for all of us. In your life, in your career, you will meet people who shout, who make noise, who try to dominate with their volume. Do not be fooled. Ask yourself, what are they actually building? What will remain when their shouting stops? And then ask yourself, what am I building? Am I chasing noise or am I creating value? Am I shouting for attention or am I putting in the work that will stand when the crowd goes home? You see, the shockwave of words, it comes fast, it excites the crowd, it rattles the walls. But the silence of action, that is where the real earthquake lives. That is where the ground splits and the future takes a new shape. Trump creates noise in the moment. Pichai creates change that will outlast him. That is why the silent power wins, because it does not need your attention today. It builds for tomorrow. And tomorrow, my friends, is where the real power is decided. And here is the truth. You cannot fake silent power. You cannot pretend to have it. It only comes from discipline, from vision, from results. It only comes when you dedicate yourself not to making noise, but to making impact. So remember this. The world does not remember who shouted the loudest. It remembers who built the strongest. Anybody can shout. Anybody can slam the table and demand attention. It takes no discipline to raise your voice. It takes no vision to insult, to provoke, to stir the crowd for a moment. That is the easy path. But leadership is not about who is the loudest. Leadership is about who sees the future, who builds the future, and who can bring people along on the journey. When you look at Trump, you see someone who thrives on volume. He makes noise, he captures the headlines, and yes, he rallies people through force of personality. But that is not leadership, it is performance. Leadership is not a show. Leadership is responsibility. It is vision. It is the ability to guide people to a place they cannot yet see for themselves. And that is where someone like Sundar Pichai shows us what real strength looks like. Think about it. When Pichai speaks, he does not use the power of his lungs. He uses the power of his ideas. He is not building crowds in a stadium with chants and slogans. He is building systems that affect the daily lives of billions of people. He is shaping technology that transforms how we work, how we communicate, how we live. That is vision. That is leadership. Noise fades, vision endures. A leader with vision does not need to shout because their work speaks louder than words. A leader with vision can stay calm in the storm because they know where they are going. Pichai stands at the head of one of the most powerful companies in history, yet you don't see him screaming to prove his dominance. He proves it by delivering results, by innovating, by guiding his teams with clarity and discipline. That is not weakness. That is mastery. True leadership is like steering a massive ship across the ocean. The waves crash, the storms rage, people panic. The loud leader shouts, "Look at me! Look how strong I am!" But the true leader does not waste energy on theatrics. He stays focused on the horizon, steady on the wheel, guiding the ship through the chaos. That is what vision does. It brings calm, direction, and purpose when everything else feels uncertain. And we need to understand this in our own lives. Too many people confuse confidence with volume. They think being the loudest in the room makes them the strongest. But real confidence, real leadership, is the ability to inspire trust without noise. It is the ability to make people believe in you because you deliver, not because you demand. Let me tell you something. You can win applause with words, but you only win respect with results. Pichai has earned the respect of engineers, innovators, governments, even competitors, not by screaming, but by showing results again and again. He has proven that vision creates followers without the need for force. Now compare that to the shouting, the outbursts, the constant need for attention. That is short term. It can work for a rally, it can dominate the news cycle for a day, but it does not build a legacy. Vision builds legacies. Discipline builds legacies. Leaders like Pichai are remembered not for how loud they were, but for how much they changed the world. And ask yourself this: what kind of leader do you want to be? Do you want to be the one who shouts the loudest in the room, who gets attention for a moment and then is forgotten? Or do you want to be the one who moves silently but creates something that lasts for generations? Do you want to be the one who entertains or the one who builds? Vision takes courage. It is not easy to ignore the noise, to resist the temptation to shout louder than the next person. But leadership is not about competing for volume. It is about competing for value. It is about asking, what am I bringing to the world that others cannot? What future am I creating that others cannot see yet? Trump shows us the power of noise, but Pichai shows us the power of vision. One is fleeting, one is lasting, one excites, one transforms. And in the long run, the world does not remember who shouted, it remembers who built the road ahead. So when you think about leadership, remember this: it is not about the volume of your words, it is about the weight of your vision. Politics shouts today. It fills the news. It dominates the conversations at dinner tables. It makes people choose sides, and it seems so big in the moment. But politics is temporary. It is loud, yes, but it is bound by elections, by terms, by cycles that come and go. Technology is different. Technology does not wait for the next election. Technology does not care who is shouting the loudest. Technology shapes decades. It changes the way humanity moves forward. And that is why I say the real earthquake shaking the world right now is not in politics. It is in technology. Look around you. Every single day, whether you are aware of it or not, technology is rewriting the rules of how we live. The phone in your pocket is not just a device. It is an extension of your mind, your memory, your identity. The platforms we use are not just apps. They are the infrastructure of our society. From how we shop, to how we work, to how we connect. The silent revolution of technology is bigger than the loud arguments of politics. Politics can divide people. Technology connects billions. When Trump shouts, the world hears him. But when Pichai moves, the world changes, even if people do not immediately notice. That is the difference between noise and progress. One fills the moment, the other defines the era. Think about the tools we use every day: search engines, maps, cloud services, artificial intelligence. These are not simply products, they are the foundations of modern civilization. And those foundations are not created in rallies or debates. They are created in labs, in boardrooms, in teams led by vision, not volume. It is easy to think politics is the most powerful force because it is visible. But technology is invisible and far more powerful. You cannot escape it. You cannot ignore it. You can vote a politician out, but you cannot vote out technology once it has changed the way the world works. The printing press, electricity, the internet, these were not political events. They were technological earthquakes. They shifted humanity permanently. And today, leaders like Pichai are standing at the center of that shift. The political arguments of today, they will fade. In 10 years, most of those headlines will be forgotten. But the technologies being developed right now, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, renewable energy, biotechnology, these will define how we live for generations. That is the scale of this moment. That is why the tech earthquake is bigger than politics. Ask yourself this: what will matter more to the lives of billions of people? A politician's speech or the invention of a technology that changes education, healthcare, communication, or the global economy? What will shape your children's future more? A shouting match on television or the development of AI that can diagnose diseases, help farmers grow food, or make transportation safer and faster? The answer is clear. The earthquake of technology is deeper, stronger, and longer lasting than any political storm. This is not to say politics does not matter. It does. It sets the stage, it creates the rules, it builds the framework. But politics alone cannot build the future. It reacts, it manages, it debates. Technology, on the other hand, creates. It does not wait for permission. It does not ask if the world is ready. It moves forward and the world has to adjust. That is why leaders like Pichai, with their silent power, are so critical. They are not just CEOs of companies, they are architects of the future. They are building the platforms that will outlast governments, outlast presidencies, outlast the noise of politics. And whether we realize it or not, their decisions ripple through every society, every economy, every home. So when we talk about earthquakes, let us understand this clearly. The earthquake of politics shakes us today. It rattles the headlines, it makes us argue, it feels intense. But the earthquake of technology is what changes the ground we stand on. And when the ground changes, everything changes. We must not underestimate this. We must not get distracted by the shouting match in front of us and miss the quiet revolution happening beneath us. Because when the tech earthquake hits, and it is hitting right now, it is unstoppable. It is global. It does not care about borders or flags or political slogans. It rewrites the rules for everyone. The question is not whether this earthquake will happen. It is already happening. The question is, who will lead it, who will shape it, and who will benefit from it? That is why vision, discipline, and silent power matter more than noise. Because in the end, the earthquake of technology will decide the future, not the outbursts of politics. And the future will remember who built, not who shouted. Power is not taken. Power is not demanded. Real power is earned. And this is the lesson so many forget. Shouting may get you attention, force may get you obedience for a while, but only respect and results give you lasting influence. This is the difference between someone who commands the spotlight and someone who builds a legacy. When you look at Trump, you see a man who demands power. He insists on it. He calls for it. He shouts for it. He wants everyone to recognize it. That kind of power is fragile because it relies on constant validation. If the crowd stops cheering, if the cameras stop rolling, if the headlines stop coming, the power slips away. It is borrowed, not owned. It depends on others, not on yourself. But when you look at Pichai, you see something entirely different. His power is not demanded. It is not shouted into existence. It is earned through years of discipline, through building trust, through delivering results that billions of people use every day. Nobody had to hand it to him. Nobody had to be forced to acknowledge it. It came naturally because he created value. That is what true power looks like. It is rooted in creation, not noise. Think about the people in your own life who truly influence you. Do they constantly shout, demanding that you recognize their authority? Or do they inspire you because they have shown again and again that they can deliver, that they have vision, that they live by example? True power makes others want to follow, not because they are forced, but because they believe. We live in a world that often confuses visibility with strength. We think the one in the spotlight is the most powerful, but the spotlight is temporary, it moves, it fades. The real strength belongs to those who do not need it. They shine through their impact, not their image. They can be quiet, but their presence is undeniable because their work surrounds us, supports us, changes us. Earning power requires patience. It requires consistency. It requires the courage to stay focused when others are chasing the quick win. That is what makes it so rare, and that is why it endures. Sundar Pichai did not become powerful overnight. He earned his place step by step, moving through challenges, proving himself through knowledge, through leadership, through resilience. That is why his power is strong. It is built on a foundation that cannot be shaken by a headline or an outburst. Compare that to the kind of power that demands to be recognized. It is like building a house on sand. Every storm threatens to wash it away. You constantly have to rebuild, constantly have to shout louder, constantly have to fight to hold on. That is exhausting and it does not last. But a house built on rock, a power built on vision and results that endures. And this is not just about Trump or Pichai. This is about us. Every single one of us has a choice. Do we demand attention or do we earn influence? Do we try to take power, or do we build it by showing discipline, delivering results, and creating something that matters? Because in the end, the world does not give lasting power to those who demand it. It gives it to those who earn it. Look at history. The people we remember, the ones who shaped humanity, are not the ones who shouted the loudest. They are the ones who created, who built, who gave us something that lasted beyond themselves. They earned their power by serving others, by moving humanity forward. That is why their influence continues even after they are gone. This is why the silent power is stronger. It is not fragile. It does not crumble when the noise stops. It grows stronger over time because it is rooted in trust, in vision, in value. You cannot fake it. You cannot demand it. You cannot steal it. You have to earn it step by step every day. So remember this lesson. True power is not in the noise. It is not in the demand. It is not in the outburst. True power is in the vision you bring, the work you do, the value you create. That is the power that lasts, and the future will always belong to those who earn it.